If you are looking for a deeper understanding of yourself and the universe, you've been drawn to the right place. Right, welcome back, everyone. This is a part two. So if you did not already, if you wanted to kind of get the pretext for this conversation, we just had a powerful conversation on the flower of life. And in fact, we sort of dove more into the egg of life and the seed of life and the fruit of life, which was really insightful, but of course kicked up 1,000 questions in me. And we wanted to dive into them because there's different scenarios. I look at this egg of life that Nirmala has drawn so beautifully on here with the 7 circles. And I think about that's our intention, our blueprint, but we come into this world kind of forgetting that we had that blueprint and intention, and the world starts to shape us, right, Nirmala? So you have initially your parents, and then you've got friends, and then you have society as a whole, culture, all of these things. And let's say there's a couple, you're in a relationship, as so many of us are, and you and your partner are having an issue, and you're working through it, but then friends start to weigh in on the situation, family starts to weigh in, they think you should do this, the other one thinks you should do that, and you start to get pulled. And I'm wondering, how is it, can you kind of explain what happens to our geometry here, and how do we come back to our true essence within us to keep us solid and in the cycles we're supposed to be in this life?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, that's a fantastic, very good question. Okay, so yeah, when you're talking about scenarios of flow of life, it's like, as I said, everything is interconnected. Yeah. So for me, when you're talking about couples and their journey and all these things, always talks to me about the egg of life. All right, because the egg, because it's a relationship. They went into initiating. Egg is like a shell, right? So they're going into this beautiful beginning of life. So that's egg of life, right? So even though they're so connected, and I like to use this scenario because even though they're so connected within each other, that it's like they're together. It's like they are already becoming, how would I say, they're becoming one in energy wise, right? So when there's a couple, they're becoming one in energy wise. So to become one, they have to become the other person. The other person have to become this person, right? In saying that, they still have to understand they are still an individual. They still have to understand they're still two different circles. They're two different individuals. All right. So they are not together energy wise, but not in that space when we talk about the egg of life. Why I'm bringing the egg of life here is because the partners, is a he and he, or he and she and she, or whatever it is relationship they are in. They're coming here again for an experience, and through this experience, they find someone that is so connected, like they can see that they're so connected with each other. Yeah, like reading a book. If two things come together when they connect, then you can read a book. Yeah, is it true? You see, so even when you're looking at a book, the pages, you can write in pages, but then you have to completely put them together. And then the person who's flipping the pages, they need to have everything together. Then the story is nice to read. You can have one pages. You understand what I'm trying to say? You cannot have it. The book has to come together. So that's what they're doing. They're engaging to make a book about them, a story about them, because their individual story is also part of the other person's story, because he is in there and she is in there, or he and he, or she and she is in there, right? So what happens is, most of the time, is when you say that they're going through issues and problems and arguments in a relationship is good, is fantastic, because that again will bring them to the next stage. All right, I use this example, use the fruit of the egg of life as an example for everything. They have one problem, and then they resolve the problem, and then they jump into the next one, right? So within couples, they go through issues everywhere, and then they got some positive things happening around them, and all this in combination becomes a cycle. And then they understand, now they win that, and then they jump to the next part of their life. All right. So that's how they jump. But even before they jump into that, in the last when we were talking about part one, I was explaining challenges are good, right? When you have challenges right in front of you, it's only given to the person who has got the strength. Specific challenges are created for specific people, specific individuals. Yeah, because like you're going to an office environment and you say this is a position take. They give you challenges based on what you're qualified for, exactly in your life experience. If you have challenges, it is given to you because you can take it and you can do it and you can overcome it. That's the reason it's appointed to you. All right. So these couples are going through some challenges in life because now they have to jump into the beautiful transformation. To do that, they're going into that aspect of it. Also, in saying that, the challenges also come in front of them is because maybe that's all the agreement was. Okay, because they agreed for that time being, and the challenges is coming and showing to them that this is it. But a lot of couples, when they come in, how do I know that this is the end or this is the beginning? How do I know that? Yeah. So that again, we go more in detail because depending on the sequence of the situation and also what is happening and where is happening and how is it happening, all this question comes in. When a couple comes in, is to always, for me, is geometrically see where is the issue is, right? So when I see the geometry and I can see that something's overlapping in between them, that means I can see there's still life to this relationship because there's so much of love still sitting in there. They want to resolve the problem, right? But if I see, and the geometry is kind of like, it's like you're seeing a circle that's cut into pieces. I don't see it in that way, but what I meant is the fractals kind of now saturate, and I can see fractals all around it. That means there's a lot of work this particular individual has to work on herself or himself before now coming back to a relationship. That might tell me that there's a chance, and there's always a 50-50 chance that this might not work. Okay, because of how the scenario is going. So, but most of the time when you look at it, all right, for me, when a couples are having issues, when they're having some problems, they go to their friends, they go to their family, and very rarely people open up and tell that is a problem. But somehow during a conversation, they say this is happening and this is what I think and all that. Always remember, they're not asking for your opinion. They're just sharing with you. So I would suggest you keep your opinion to yourself. Please do keep your opinion to yourself, because what happens is that if they want an opinion, what would you do if this is happening to you? Maybe from your point of view, you can say that you being that person, what you would do. That doesn't mean they have to do. All right. So you can help them if they ask you a question. Most of the time when I see relationship issues and the individual comes in is because there's so many clutters in their head, because so many friends has already spoke to them, families have spoke to them. They cannot make their decision because they don't know how to. They want to make a decision based on what they have heard. So it's like big microphones now, kind of locked onto their head. And they keep listening to what these influences been going, the influences happening around them, but they completely forgot what they really want. Yeah. So my job would be most of the time when I see that kind of geometry of those kind of big, huge space that's being created with all those clouds, my job is to remove those clouds away from them, to make them empty, to make them completely silent. And then for them to understand, first of all, why they want this relationship is the question I ask. Not why they don't want the relationship, why they want the relationship. Yeah. And from there, I bring in the cycles of what needs to be done. Yeah. So within couples, it's always going to happen. But the major thing that happens is the influence that's coming from the outside side. Where friend says, if I'm you, I would have left him. I don't even know why you're sticking with him. And there are some friends who are very demanding. If I still see that you're going back to the same person again, I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to talk to you. all this, but in a good way, they might be saying that because there might be an abuse, physical abuse, and as a loved one, they don't want her to get hurt or him to get hurt. Always remember, it's not, we have to remember it's not always her that get hurt, him also can get hurt. So but sometimes they try to, it's not such a huge issue, it's no physical abuse, but when somebody's angry, when they're coming and telling things, they're putting all their energy into it. It might be a small little thing, but it looks that huge.
Right.
Yeah, it might look huge. Always beware when you are hearing things like that. There must be something has happened between both of them. Both of them would have done something to come to that point. So your job is always just listening, and always putting up to them, what do you think?
Well, what about the person who's having the challenge? Would you give someone advice to go ask friends and family, or really should somebody just be going internal? And at what point do you, seek out a professional, like coming to yourself or coming to some other professional to get advice on a matter? Like, where does someone go? Because I know for myself, I've been confused before. And I like going internally and the answer's not coming. But then say I have a conversation with you and you just sort of like put the pieces together for me to go, oh, okay, yeah, that's right. Let me just calm down. And, you're not giving an opinion ever on what I should or shouldn't do. It's like you hold up a beautiful mirror.
Thank you. So just like that, Danielle. So if you have someone that you can go to, have a discussion where they can be neutral, they can stay neutral in the center, completely closed, not putting any sides to it. If you have someone in your family, in your friends group who can go neutral and then can put you into a perspective that you can now go and re-enter the same issue and see where you can both now, bring a balance to it, fantastic. But not always the time, isn't it? A lot of young people who come, not even young people, I'm talking about even in the 60s and 70s, finally somebody coming to a decision to let go of something, so there's a major influence happens all the time. Parents are always overly concerned about children. That's pretty given to that. So they always go by what the child wants, what is important for the child, rather than breaking it into pieces to see, yeah, my child got this issue. I know that's coming, but maybe you shouldn't have done this. Maybe you should have went a little bit more subtle. She's new to this. You didn't. They don't have this interaction. They went bingo, jump, and then they say that no, don't allow them to do this. This is what's going to happen. You do this, and you can see how confused they become because now they're relying on a loved one, and the loved one is telling them this. But in that being's heart, there's so much of love, but I don't want to leave that relationship. I'm still in love, right. So you can see that becomes an expansion, and sometimes friends' influence does project in that way as well. For me, someone comes and say, no, my family, my friends are saying that, this is wrong, this person is wrong for you, and they're saying that you have to leave him, My first question is, do you have love for this person? Yes. Why? Has he abused you physically? No. Has he done anything to you? Yeah, it has happened in the past. Yeah. So who's making a decision here? You, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, all the 16 friends, whoever it is, I'll call their names and I'll tell them, are they all making the decisions for you? How is their life right now? What kind of challenges they are in? At the point of time when you ask the question, what was their aggression? What was happening in their headspace? For me, I always say it's none of their business.
Mm-hmm.
You brought the topic to them because you just want them, most of the time, people do that. They go to friends and family just for the sake of comfort. They just want some comfort. Don't worry, everything's going to be okay. If it is a really abusive side, people step in and say, that is bad, that is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But if most of the time they go to friends basically to hear that things are going to be okay. That's what they're coming from.
Sure.
All right. Yeah. But as a friend, as a family, I'm not saying that if somebody is being always, being abused, having bruises everywhere and all that. No, keep going. I'm not saying that. They need to get protected. they need to get professional help.
Right. Sure. In that situation. Well, let me ask you this. So this sort of opens up another question I had, where at what point does society or a friend or a family member have some sort of responsibility to step in or support? And at what point do you just say, well, it's their journey? So say, there's a lot of single mothers out there who are struggling with kids. They've only got so much time. They're raising the kids. They've got their one income that they're going off of, and they're struggling for money. I mean, is that their journey and you just let them have it? Or do you, looking in at that as a friend or family member or just part of society, are you meant to step in? And should there be external like support or influence in that situation?
Most of the time, I find that single parents do have support, family support, friend support, they will have the community support. Somehow, rather, single parent, most of the time they have it. But single parent, the only thing that they always don't get, they don't reach out for help is for their mental health, I find, because we are together as a body of consciousness, our physical body consciousness, vital body consciousness, our mental body consciousness, our astral body consciousness, our etheric body consciousness. So we're all coming in as a combination of consciousness together. So physical body consciousness, automatic fit. Okay, it says, okay, the child needs this, bring the child to school, I have to do this, I do that, it does everything automatically. Yeah. How it is taking care of the physical body, very much in a balance, or maybe lower than the balance, because when I'm a single mom with 3 or 4 kids, we can imagine what she's doing most of the time. And the mental body of consciousness is where I find that it plays the huge part, right, from the society. Especially parents are a single parent, not really a mom as such, can be a single father, who's going through a lot of shuffling in security, in saving the children away from whatever it is. Most of the time, I find that few times I've seen there's a mutual agreement. They get into a mutual agreement. Mom still goes to work, dad's still involved, but they're separated. They've gone their way. Very beautifully, they aligned it, putting the children as the center. Yeah, but it's not always the time. I had a scenario where I like to show this as an example coming from this, because I did see this geometry in this girl where she really looked up to the relatives for help, right? So she went through a separation and shuffling with the husband, and then she got 3 kids, and then she went into the relatives for help. So what she does is that, yes, she's staying by herself, but every other day she just pack her things and she just jump into the relative's house without, it's uncalled. It's like she just go in. Okay, so they kind of accommodated, feeling sorry for her, feeling compassionate to her and all that. But then they realize along the way is that because of how lost she is, and she doesn't do much. I mean, the full. I mean, she has so much to do within these 3 children, and she even extend the issues even further because of the mental state she's in. All right, she had some sort of issues. So whenever there's a court case, there's something's happening in the background. There's a court case. She will start having interaction with the relatives, but giving information to the children how they're supposed to act in court. And the relative picked it up, right? So I can see that her geometry is very much in front. The fractals are not in communication because they're just standing there because this person is not really consciously doing things. No, everything's coming out of the transparency of fear. Yeah. So because of that fear, she doesn't know how to interact. She's not just damaging herself, she's damaging the children as well. So when they come into this, when they observe this, they find that, okay, this is not going right. It's like, and then at one point she says that the child is going to a psychologist, and the psychologist says there's something wrong because they're visiting you very often. And the relative took this as an advantage and said that, okay, then don't come here. All right. Because if that's the case, don't come here, because they find that it's very difficult to handle the children because she wants their children to be on her side. So what she does is like, this is how the relative, this is how she explained to me. She'll put a breakfast, she set the breakfast table, get the children in because they come in and stay there for days and days, right? So and the 6-year-old will come and sit, and then there was a 4-year-old, and and then there was a girl who was 10 or 11. I can't remember the ages, but the 7-year-old, what he does is that a 6-year-old, what he does is, they give them a cereal bowl, and then he doesn't like it, he will just throw it out of the dining table, and then it goes bang, and then 2 bowls, gone, broke pieces. And when they step in, the mom will say, "Oh, you're not allowed to talk to him like that. No, you're not meant to do this to him. You cannot." So they're not allowed to voice out or say anything, because she's saying that they're allowed to do what they want to do. If not, this is going to, because you can see the fear in her mind that she's now doing this to the child, allowing them. She's not disciplining. She's not telling them this is wrong or right, but she's just allowing them because she's afraid that if she goes to court, something might go wrong. The children might say, "I don't like my mom did this," or the psychologist, because the children will always tell all sorts of things. The psychologist always call her in, saying that, your son says this has happened, that is, probably they're doing their professional work by trying to understand from the mom what has actually happened. But the mom freak out all the time, and this is what she wants, even the relative or anybody to do. All right. So you can see something is not going to be right with this 6-year-old, because he's already having a trauma. There's already a trauma in his space that he's reacting to all these things, and not having the father next to him is even doing things worse for him. You can see that he's craving for a male figure in his life, and that is not there. And then he's trying to, all his actions are showing that. So what this relative does is, I know it's a bit of a story, but I just like, it's all part of this, definitely. But in the geometrical space, what I saw is like the person is all the conversation is going in the wrong way, because I find that this person, this young woman, has to get actual professional help, and she's not going to go for it. She doesn't think there's anything wrong with her. So somehow or other, the relative tried to put her into a group, single mom group or single father group or whatever it is, so that they can, once she go in, she can learn from them that actually, she can break certain things in patterns and teach the children a bit of discipline. So she tried to put them into a group, but that went another wrong direction again. Okay, so that's the reason when it comes to friends and close friends and relatives, don't deal with it. Always get them to professional help. I learned the hard way, with even in long time ago. So, but anyway, so this is what happened. So it seems like she was so much in fear in the head space, and you can see it's like a red ring that's going around her all the time, like a fire that's going around, even though the tetrahedron always symbolizes that. But she has created, even in octahedron, she has created a fire. When I see that, that person definitely needs professional help. Definitely need professional help. She's kind of ongoing in having depression, taking depression pills, and sometimes when they stop it, things go down, comes up, and all that. They really need to connect with groups. That's the best way to deal with scenarios like that. All right, going into a group where parents of her type of circles, what are they doing to come out of it, where they can learn from each other, and then going to actual proper counseling or understanding of what she needs to do from that aspect of it. Yeah. So just to explain single parenting and having such issues, sometimes you have to understand where this issue is coming from. Shuffling and juggling children is not easy. As a mother, I know when you're working and you're doing things, and even if they're not working, having a few children is going to be hard. So as a friend, as a family, you can always try to analyze the situation and see, is that a place that your suggestions is going to help, or is it best for them to get professional help? Okay. I know it's a huge scenario, but I just wanted to pick up, because when you asked me the question, I just wanted to pull out that case study to explain to you about it. Do you have any questions? I just want to quickly finish that on that.
No, I think, I mean, the answer to my question was basically, yeah, sometimes you do need to jump in and help. but to monitor yourself on, is that actually going to be helpful, or do you need to maybe guide them to someone that has the abilities to help with this situation and not sort of taking it on yourself? So yeah, I think you answered my question, that sometimes we do need to get involved and help others on their journey. And I do believe we all obviously have chosen who we have around us for a reason, and they can help in different scenarios.
Yeah, we can always, set an example. We can be always a supportive person next to them, but the decision has to always come from the individual.
Yeah, I remember one of my teachers saying to me, when you have somebody that's dug a hole for themselves and they're in the bottom of that hole, like, we have this desire to jump down there and like give them a hug, but then you're both just stuck in a hole. You're not in a position to help. You're down there in it with them. Versus if you stand on the edge of the hole and you offer a hand, like, you're grounded, you're able to come from a space where you can see their situation, but you haven't emotionally gotten involved in it. And you're able to say, look, let me guide you here. Here's a ladder to go over there, or, you can take my hand to go here. So that visual is what came to me when you were talking.
Yeah. So thanks for that. I mean, that's a very good scenario that your teacher was pointed out, when, whether you're holding your space or you are walking into their space.
Exactly.
That's the question I always ask, whether you're holding the space. And that's the actual question I ask when somebody comes with such scenario. Are you holding your space, or are you borrowing somebody else's space, or are you in somebody else's space? What does it matter? You're worried about somebody else's space and not your space.
Right.
Yeah. So so the complexity of having all these things, to come out of that challenge, for that two scenarios that we spoke about, is the most important thing that we now learn is that we need to come out of the maze of fear. The fear is there. That's the challenge we have. All right. We are learning the fear is put in there for a purpose. How am I going to come out of this fear? There's no point I say that, okay, I'm going to move forward, but I'm not going to let go of the fear. Yeah. The more you hold on to the fear, you feel like you're going in circle and you're kind of trapped. You go here and then you come back. You kind of feel like you're trapped in the same space, and the same energy keeps repeating itself again. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's a whole lot of things. So when I see somebody coming with fear, for me, it's connecting their silver thread to the silver cord, where they need to now go back to their origin of who they are, or where they came from, the actual center. I try to bring them to the center, so that now they can analyze, they can understand this is who they are and what they are, and then take the cycle to the next level. They re-enter the place of fear, and then they learn how to come out of the fear to go to the next level.
Yeah, Susan, I'm telling you, these visuals, it's like, I've emotionally been there in my life, stuck in fear, stuck in a pattern, and to see it the way that you see it, I mean, how incredible to be able to help somebody just lift out of that, or for ourselves to now understand, like, oh, I'm in one of these cycles. I'm meant to be getting out of this circle and on to the next. Let me embrace the challenge that's in front of me. Let me drop the fear and just, step into it.
Yeah. So I think we kind of ran out of time, didn't we? Or do you think we still have time?
We tend to do that. Until next time, thank you, Nirmala, for that conversation. And I thank you all for watching. And as always, welcome to this community of spiritual beings, all looking to amplify their human experience. We're grateful that you listened in. And remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for notifications. And as always, share with your friends and those around you. Until next time, have a beautiful day.
Thank you.